Hi, good morning. So let me share my screen. We'll start with today's session. Okay, so what are we going to discuss today?
I think you said workflow.
Yeah, workflows. Okay, workflows are nothing but approvals. Okay, we call them here workflows. Workflow is a foundation object, firstly. This is a foundation object. If you remember when we were creating the foundation objects, we have left two objects, found
Yeah.
dynamic role and workflow. Okay, so that workflow will be creating it today. So workflow screen basically contains 4 sections. Okay, first part is workflow configuration, and then second part is workflow approvers. Third part is workflow contributors, and fourth part is workflow CC. Okay, so first in the workflow configuration, we define the ID of the workflow, name of the workflow, whether you want to use escalation in the workflow. Now, what if somebody doesn't approve, how many days you want to see? You can escalate. Now, before escalating, if you want to have remind in days, like I want to remind the approver 2 days before or 3 days before, if you want to remind, you can use reminder. And then you can also use even after reminder, if the approver is not responding, if you want to escalate, you can use escalation. You can also use alternate workflow. Now for one workflow, if requester want to choose a different workflow, they can choose a different workflow. And then is delegated option. Is delegated means this will enable one additional field on the workflows. Okay, delegation means if I am an approver and if I want to delegate it to someone else, that means I don't want to approve on behalf of me, I want somebody else to approve. Okay, I want to route the workflow to someone else so that they can approve. So that is delegation. If you want to use delegation in your workflows, you can enable delegate also. And then you have redirect CC users to workflow page. There is an option called redirect CC approvals to workflow page. That means at the end of the workflow, so we'll be defining the CC as well. We'll be defining CC. CC means carbon copy. If you want to notify someone, let's say I want the request to be approved by someone, and once the request is approved at the end of the workflow, I want someone to receive the notification saying that so and so has initiated and this got approved now. So it could be HR, it could be own employee, or it could be the initiator themselves. So you can notify the users. So when system notifies this, it will be sending a notification. It would be sending a notification in the Outlook, and this notification contains a link at the bottom. And if the user clicks on that link, it takes them to the workflow page. So if you want to send it to workflow page, you can set it to yes. Otherwise, system will just land you upon the SuccessFactors homepage. So that's redirects its users to workflow approval page. Okay. And the second part of the workflow is the approvers. Now, whom do you want to set as the approvers? Let's take a scenario where we want to transfer an employee. What is a transfer? Moving an employee from one location to other location, or one department to other department, or one manager to other manager, or one cost center to other cost center, one business unit to other business unit. These are all called transfers. Let's say I want to transfer an employee from one location to other location. So location 1 to location 2. If I'm transferring the employee from one location to other location, there may be possibility of change in the manager as well. Initially, employee was reporting to manager 1, and here employee would be reporting to manager 2 once the employees move to location 2. So there is a chance of moving the employee from one manager to other manager as well. So we have an employee. whom I want to move from location 1 to location 2. And employee 1 is reporting to manager 1 here in location 1. And when employee 1 is moved to location 2, you would be reporting to manager 2. Okay. And there is a requester who is initiating. Whoever is initiating the request is called requester. Okay. Now the first step of we can have any levels of approval. There's no restriction that you can only have 1 level or 2 levels or 10 levels of approval. Any number of levels of approvals can be configured. The first step, I want the request to be approved by manager. So what is a manager? Manager is a role. It is a system-driven standard role which is available. So you just have to select the role and see what is that role. We have different roles like manager, manager's manager, HR manager, and so on. Additional manager, custom manager, and so on. So these are all roles. Okay. When I say manager, which manager? First manager, second manager, who is that manager? Manager 1 or manager 2? Here we'll be defining context as source or target. If I say source, it goes to manager 1. If I say target, if I choose target, it goes to manager 2. First level of approval, I'm telling the system it is manager. Now we don't define the approvals for each employee. It is for each process. For all the employees across the organization, for transfer, we are defining the workflow. So this transfer process, for whichever employee we are initiating the approvals, it goes to their manager. Today I'm initiating it to employee, it is going to manager 1. Employee 1, it is going to manager 1. If I am initiating transfer to manager 1, so it goes to manager 1's manager. So whichever employee you initiate the work, employee you initiate the transfer action, it should send it to their manager. And the context we need to define whether it is source or target. If I say source, it goes to existing manager. If I say target, it goes to the target manager. Once employees move to a different location, the manager whom the employee is reporting to. So that's the target manager. Okay, now this is fine. Second step, again, I want to have it as manager's manager. Manager's manager is also a role. It is also a role. And then you can define context, source or target. If I say manager's manager, if manager 1 is reporting to manager 3, it goes to manager 3 here. If I define the context as source. Okay, whichever manager is manager 1 is reporting to. Third step. Okay, again, manager, this is also a role, context, source or target. Now here I want to, let's say I want to have target, and here I want to have source, and here I want to have source. So here it goes to manager 1, here it goes to manager 3, because manager 1 is reporting to manager 3. Here it goes to manager 2. This is simple. Again, we can have one more step, manager's manager, context as target, it goes to manager 2's manager. Okay, so that's fine. This is simple roles. Okay, next level, now I want this to be sent to a group of persons. We have something called a dynamic group or a workflow group. That's I want, and at this level, I want the workflow to be sending to a group of persons. Okay, now which group you need to create? A group. Let's say I've added 4 members in the group. Approval group I've created with 4 people. Okay, 1, 2, employee 1, employee 2, employee 3, employee 4. So system sends the request to all the 4 people here. If I am using dynamic group, system sends the request to all the 4 people. Anybody can approve. Either 1, 2, 3, or 4 can approve. And if one of them approves, let's say 3 has seen the approval and then 3 has approved it. The particular step gets approved. All the 4 doesn't have to be approved. Only one of them can approve. 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. If it is approved, then it will be moved to next level automatically. Okay. So that's dynamic group. It will be sending to all the 3 people or 4 people or 5 people or 6 people, the number of employees that you have added in the group. It sends to all the people. And if one of them approves, the request is approved. The particular step is approved. And 5th step, you can use dynamic role. Now, it is not necessary that only 5th step can be dynamic group, or 4th step can be dynamic group, and 5th step can be dynamic role. Now, there can be workflows with only one level of approval, which is dynamic role, or which is dynamic group, or which is manager, or which is manager's manager. It can be any. Now, this can be at first level, this can be at second level, this can be at first level. Now, we can define these steps at any level. Okay. Now, dynamic role is a foundation object. Dynamic role is also foundation object. And for dynamic role, we have dynamic role assignments. We have dynamic role assignments. And what are these assignments? All of the foundation objects are these assignments. Foundation objects and the org, job, pay related elements are your dynamic role assignments, like company, business unit, division, department, location, pay grade, job classification. These are called dynamic role assignments. Now, what happens here is, now if I want the approvals to be based on location, that means if I initiate transfer to the employee who belongs to Mumbai, I want approver 1 to be approving. Chennai, I want approver 2 be approving. Delhi, I want approver 3 be approving. And Bangalore, I want approver 4 to be approving. That's why I have these 4 locations. Today, if I'm initiating an employee who belongs to location Mumbai, should go to approver 1. And if I'm initiating a transfer for Chennai employee who is in Chennai, should go to approver 2. Delhi should go to approver 3. Bangalore, it should go to approver 4. So that means depending on the location, you are setting up the approvers. It goes to either one of these people, either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. It goes to only one person here. Or now it can also have a dynamic group. You can also add a dynamic group. Like here it is approve 1, approve 2, approve 3. And dynamic group, you have added 4 people, it goes to 4 people here. So it can be one dynamic role assignment like location, or combination of multiple role assignments. Company 1, Mumbai location. Company 2, company 1, Chennai location. Company 1, Delhi location. Company 1, Bangalore location. And then company 2, Mumbai. Company 2, Chennai. So you can have different approvers here. Let's say approver 4 and approver 5. So you can have this way. If now system, while initiating, system will check which company the employee is in and what location the employee is in. Company and location. It can be the combination of 2 or more objects. You can also have business unit, you can also have division, you can also have department, you can also have grade, you can also have job code. Anything can be added. System sends the approval dynamically based on the configuration that we do. Clear? Dynamic role and dynamic group. Okay. And then we can also have position as the approval. You cannot have a person. Now, if you observe here, I have not added anywhere the person. You cannot say that so-and-so person is the approver. Person can be in the dynamic role. Person can be in the dynamic group. But in the workflow, you cannot configure a person. You can have a position. You can select a position as the approver. Position X. Today, if some employee is on that position X, it goes to that employee. Tomorrow, that employee leaves and someone else joins. And if I transfer, it goes to that person for approval. Okay. So if you choose position, whichever employee has occupied that position, system will be sending the approval to that person. That is position. So you can have any of these things. You can also have position relationship. On the position, we have matrix relationship, right? Matrix manager or a HR manager. We can also have position relationship as one of the levels of approval. So these are the possible ways of defining the approvals. It is not necessary for that every transfer should have all of these steps. No, it can only have one level. Some customers may say that I want to have only one level of approval for transfer. Some customers may say that I want to have only 2 levels of approval or 3 levels of approval, 4 levels of approval. So it can be anything. Manager dynamic role, manager dynamic group, manager dynamic role and dynamic group, only dynamic role and dynamic group, only dynamic role. So it can be anything. You can use any of these combinations. Clear? The concept wise, that is workflow approvers. Now, what if now first step manager, it's a, now we are sending the request to manager. What if manager is not approving? How many days we want to see? So depending on the remaining days that we have set up in workflow config, system will send the notification to that user. Hey, you have an approval which is pending, go and approve, reminder 1. Let's say if we have set reminder as 3 days. After 3 days, system will send a notification saying that you have an approval which is pending, you need to approve. After 3 days, again, it will send another reminder 2. After 3 days, again, it will send. Now, how many reminders you want to send? So at each step, we have the option of whether no approver. Yeah, this is called no approver behavior. If the particular approver is not approving, what do you want to do? You have 2 options: skip this step or stop the workflow. If I say skip, it will automatically move to next level. If I say stop, it will stop there and system will keep on sending the notification. It will keep on sending the notification until the approver approves. Now this can be different for different steps. First level, I want to have skip. Second level, I want to stop. Third level, I want to skip. Fourth level, I want to stop. You can choose. Okay. And in all of these stages, the approvers will be notified. Now, if I'm initiating the request, okay, it has gone to manager 1 for approval. System will send notification to manager saying that you have a request pending for approval. You need to go and approve. Once manager approves, I am the requester. System will send me notification that so-and-so person has approved. It went to second level. Second level approves. It sends to third level. Notification will be sent to the third approver, and one notification will be sent to me saying that second level is also approved. And after all the levels are approved, you can have the CC notification. Whichever user are tagged as a CC, they will be notified. And then we have workflow contributors. Contributors means who can add some information. contributors will not approve or will not reject. Contributor will add some information to the workflow. They will only be adding some information to the workflow. They'll not be approving. Well, let's say, just come to me for approval and I want to know some information. Why are you initiating this transfer? Is it employee has requested, or is the need of the organization? I want to know. Before I approve, I want that information. So I'll post that comment. That comment would be addressed by the contributors that are added. Contributors can be anyone again. A person, a manager or a manager's manager or a dynamic role, dynamic group. It can be anyone. Okay. Clear on concept, workflow? What are the steps that are to be followed to send this, how to trigger this workflows? First one, step one, create escalation. This is optional. If you want, you can use. Otherwise, you can leave it. And this is done through manage data. Create escalation. If you want to use escalation in your workflows, first create that. Second, this is also optional. If you want to use a dynamic group in your workflow, go and create it first. Manage workflow groups. This is similar to your permission group. Third level, create dynamic role. This is also optional. If you want to use dynamic role, go and create it. This is done in manage organization, pay and job structure. Fourth step is to create workflow. And workflow is created in is also a foundation object. So you can do it through manage organization, pay and job structure. Okay. Okay. So let's go to the first step. First step, I'll go and create escalation, manage data. I want to create escalation. Name of the escalation. Here, RIL 001. Now I want the escalation from current approvers manager or current approvers manager's manager or current approvers HR. I can choose. And after how many days you want to send? After 6 days. When do you want? Anything. You can add any number here. If I say 10 days, after 10 days, it will be escalated. If I say 6 days, it will be escalated after 6 days. If the approver is not approving. Approver is not approving, it can be sent to approver's manager after 6 days. You can also add one more step. Let's say after 10 days, it should be sent to, even after escalation, approver is not approving. We can select the next level also. Okay. I'll set only one level. Second step is manage workflow groups. Manage workflow groups. So these are similar to your permission groups. You go create your group, RIL workflow group. Okay. Now it can be anything again. It can be from a company, from a country or department, or it can also be an employee. It's a user. I want 4 people. Go choose some users. John Cloud. Okay. I'll select some random users. Mark Snyder. Jennifer Harris. Stephanie Decker. Okay, I'll add 4 people here. Update, got 4 people. Now this is my workflow group, RAL workflow group. Okay. Next is, third is manage organization, pay and job structure. Foundation object. Dynamic role is a foundation object. So create new, have your dynamic role and workflow. First is dynamic role. Dynamic role ID RAL001. RAL dynamic role. You can name it differently. Okay. So these are all dynamic role assignments: job classification, department, division, location, legal entity, business unit, pay grade, so event region, pay group. So all of these can be your dynamic role assignments. Now, if I want to have it based on location, go select your locations. RAL Bangalore. Let me select all the locations first. RAL Hyderabad. Okay. Now, it can be a person, it can be a group of persons, or it can be a position. Okay. For now, I'll add person only here. Mark Taylor. Okay. So I've added now 5 people as a approver. Okay, I've just selected person. Okay. Now here I can see that location. That means if I'm initiating an action and if that employee belongs to this location, system sends it to Mark Taylor. And if employee belongs to Hyderabad, it sends it to Petra. If employee belongs to Kolkata, it sends to Don Baker. And if a employee belongs to Mumbai, it sends to Megan Tico. And any other location, maybe that location is different than these locations, or maybe there is no location mapped to that employee. So if it is blank, that means any other location, it goes to this person. If it is only Bangalore, it goes to this. If only Hyderabad, it goes to this person. So depending on these locations, system will be choosing the approver. And any other location other than these 4, it will be sending to this person. Okay. And then now this workflow. Add RAL WF001, name of the workflow, RAL workflow 001. Okay. Now, I said 4 sections, right? This is workflow configuration. This is second step, which is approval. This is third section, which is contributors. Fourth section, which is CC role. Okay. First, let me add the configuration. Description, if you want, you can add. Remind in days. After 4 days, I want system to send the reminder. Is delegate supported? Want delegation to happen? Yes. Alternate workflow. I have not created any workflow. This is my first workflow, but if you want to add a alternate workflow, you can add. Escalation. I've created an escalation. Go choose that escalation. Redirect CC users to workflow approval page. Yes, that means at the end of the workflow, system would be sending the notification to the people that we add it here. And these people will receive a notification, and the notification contains a link. When they click on that link, it takes them to the workflow page. If I say no, system will still take them to Successfactors page, but it lands upon the home page instead of workflow page. If I say yes, it takes you to the workflow page directly. First level of approval. Approval types can be, these are all approval types. We have defined, these are all approval types. Like role, you have role as a approval type. dynamic role, dynamic group, position, position relationship. If I say role, which role is it? Now see here, because I've chosen the approach type here, the second step got added. Again, choose a role, third step got added. You add the role, approach type, system will add the next step. Okay. Now, first level, I want to send it to manager. Now you have different roles: self, initiator, manager, manager's manager, employee HR, custom manager, matrix manager, second manager, and so on. These are all the roles. Context, source, or target. If it is source, existing manager. If it is target, the target manager. Edit transaction. When the request is sent to manager for approval, can manager change any of the data of the employee? Like I'm changing location, I'm changing the manager of the employee. If the approver want to change some other data, they can go and edit. If I say edit. If I say no edit, they will not have option to change any data. They can only approve or reject. So I have options here. No edit, which you cannot edit. Edit with route change. I can make change to the request, and along with that, the workflow route will also be changed. Now let's say this is at the third level. So if you want to start it from the beginning again, so route change you can choose. No, I want to continue from there itself, edit without route change, and edit attachment only. This allows you to change only the attachment. If there is any attachment added, and user can only change the attachment, they will not be able to change anything else. Okay, so I'll choose one option in each. No approver behavior, what happens if you don't approve? Either skip or stop. Relationship to approver. Now, I said role manager. Who's manager? If I am initiating, it should go to my manager or it should go to the employee's manager. I'm initiating to employee, right? So do you want it to be sent to employee's manager or initiator's manager? Here we have option relationship to approver, employee or initiator. If I say employee, it goes to the employee's manager. If I say initiator, it goes to my manager or requester's manager. Respect permission. Now this is sending the request to manager. What if manager doesn't have permissions to view the data? I'm changing location, I'm changing manager, or I'm changing salary as well. But if manager doesn't have permission to look at employee salary, if I say respect permission, no, I'm not respecting permission. Even though I don't have access to salary details, I will still see the salary details because I'm not respecting permission. If I say respect permission, yes, only those fields which I have access, I can see them. Now, there is a change in that field, and if I have access to it, I'll see. I don't have access, I'll not be able to see. And workflow email configuration. By default, system sends the standard notifications to all the approvers. But if you want to have any custom emails, you can create custom email as well. Okay, if there are any custom emails configured, you can go and choose. If I don't choose, system will send the default notification. I'll show you that. Okay, so let me add next level source. I'll choose edit without route change. I'll choose stop the workflow. I'll choose respect permission, yes. I'll say dynamic role or role manager. I'll say instead of source, I'll select target. Edit attachment only. Skip, I'll leave it as it is. Next level, role. Sorry, I'll select here dynamic role. RL. Dynamic group. RL. Okay. And then I'll also choose a position. Let me see if we have any position. A position with person. Any doubts so far? org chat. Go to org chat. Position org chat. Okay, I'll choose this position. And just select the position. It goes to this person. Okay, this position. I can also add another step as well. Contributor, say self or manager. 2 levels of contributors. I'll say here self, manager, and I'll say external email. I'll just add some okay. I'll add my email. I'll see if workflow gets triggered. Okay. Next, we'll create one more workflow. RIL WF 002. RIL workflow 002. Remaining days 2 days. Delegate supported yes. Escalation I will not use. I don't use anything here. Just say manager. Say role. Sorry, dynamic role. Okay. Manager. Save. Okay. I'll create a couple of more workflows. Zero 003. I'll not use any of this. I'll say directly dynamic group. OCC, I think. Sorry. Approval is required. RIL workflow group. Save. I'll create 2 more workflows. Workflow RIL WF 004. RIL workflow 004. Say role directly managers manager. Okay. And dynamic role. Okay. I'll create one more workflow, last one. RIL WF 005. RIL workflow 005. Remaining days 3. Say dynamic role. Say dynamic group. Workflow. Okay. No CC, no contributors. I've created 5 workflows. What are these workflows for? Which workflow should I use for transfer? Can somebody tell me what is the workflow that I've created for transfers? Which workflow?
Dynamic group.
Dynamic group. What is dynamic group?
I'm sorry, dynamic role.
Dynamic role.
For transfers, sir.
I've created 5 workflows. RIL WF 001, 2, 3,
Oh,
4, and 5. Which
so
workflow is for transfer. Which workflow is for transfer? Don't know?
No.
Okay, even system doesn't know. Which workflow is to be?
For which one?
So any workflow can be used for transfers or promotion or no termination or hire. Any of these workflows. RILWF001 can be used for transfer, can be used for promotion, can be used for demotion, can be used for hire, can be used for termination. Or one workflow can be used for multiple actions. I want to use same workflow for both transfer and promotion. Yes, it is possible. I want to use same workflow for promotion and demotion. Yes, we can use.
Then why are we creating multiple workflows? We can just create one workflow, right?
You can create workflow, but you want to see the difference, right?
Okay.
How system sends the 2 levels of approval or 3 levels of approval or 1 level of approval. We want to see how system is considering or no the workflows. Now you have hundreds of workflows here in system. If I go and see, if I search for transfer, you see these are the different transfers I have. Now my workflow is not showing up because here I've not created with transfer. I've just said WF. So all of these are WFs workflows. You see, these are number of workflows. So out of these number of workflows, which workflow is to be triggered for our employees? Did we define that this is for RI, this is only for RIL employees, or this is for transfers, or this is for promotion? Did we did we define anywhere?
I don't think so.
No, we have not. So how will system know which workflow should be triggered? Now that is done in the workflow logic. If you go to our previous notes, here discuss that
Rules.
workflow rules, there is an XML which is used for defining the logic. Now the customers are not using the XML, they're using business rules. They're using business rules. So here we would be using business rules to define the logic. So what is a business rule? Business rules are ways to implement logic in the system. Business rule is a way to implement logic in the system, and that logic can be for any action. I want to have it for workflow. Go tell the system whenever user changes the location or whenever user initiates a transfer, I want this workflow to be triggered. Define that logic. Business rules can be used to calculate data. I want to calculate age of the employee. I want to calculate total salary of the employee by adding 2 components. I want to calculate the number of years, retirement age. So you can use business rules to do that. You can validate the data. I can validate the data. Like if user is updating wrong data, I want system to stop and warn them or give them error message saying that you are selecting a wrong value, you're choosing a wrong value, or no, you have not maintained this value. So you can validate the data. You can default the data. Now you update some field and you want system to default some value. You can do that through business rule. You can propagate the data. You have seen the propagation of data from job code to position, from position to job information. We can auto-generate codes. Position code is auto-generating. Department code is auto-generating. So you need to define the logic. You need to define the logic, how or what is the number or what is the sequence that you want to generate. So business rules can be used for any of these actions, for any of these categories. And business rules always, the syntax for the business rule is if and then. If you do this, then set this value. Okay. In the workflows, if user initiates transfer, then trigger this workflow. If user initiates promotion, then trigger this workflow. For calculation, if you have date of birth, then calculate age. If you have date of hire, calculate the service. Validate. If user is doing this, then raise this message. Default. If you have maintained value X here, then go and update value B. Propagate. If position is blank, if position has got value, if you are selecting job code, then set these values. So always would be between if and then. Now, sometimes if you don't want to check any condition, then you can bypass if condition by selecting the option of always true. Always true. If you select this option, you don't need to specify if condition. In every case, it will trigger whatever that you have set in then. If I have multiple conditions to be checked, sometimes I want to check 2 or 3 fields. First field, second field, third field. Now, if you have multiple conditions, now these conditions are called expressions. If you have multiple expressions, you will have to join the expressions. You'll have to join the expression using and or can join the expression. If you want all of the conditions to be satisfied, use and. And if you want one of the condition to satisfy, use or. Example, if for transfer and promotion, if transfer or promotion, I want workflow to be 001. Whether either it is transfer or promotion, system should trigger the workflow 001. It cannot be both. Event can only be one, either transfer or promotion. Right? If field 1 has value X and field 2 has value Y. Here I want to use AND. Now both the conditions are to be satisfied. Field 1 should have value X and field 2 should have value Y. Then only this will trigger. This is AND and this is OR. Clear? And business rules can be configured using configure business rules. Configure business rules. And when you're creating a business rule and when you're configuring a business rule, the base object is very important. Base object meaning if I want to write a business rule on personal information, then my base object is personal information. I want to validate the data in compensation information. My base object is comp information. If I want to calculate something in job information, so my base object is job information. If I want to auto generate the code for position, so my base object is position. If I want to propagate the data from job code to position, so my base object is on position. So you need to choose the base object depending on the category. Now business rules can be configured for any module. It can be for employee central, it can be for recruiting, it can be for compensation. So first you need to select which module you want to write business rule. And again, each module, you have certain categories. Like you want to have business rules for HRIS elements. You want to rule for hiring the employee. You want to rule for terminating the employee. You want to validate the data. So you have all of these options. Okay. And depending on the base object, once you have configured the business rule, you need to assign this business rule. Business rule is to be assigned to object. I want business rule to be triggered as soon as we update information in personal information and save the record. So that means you want business rule to be triggered on save of the object. Personal information, I've maintained some data, I'm going and clicking on submit or save. So backend system has to trigger the business rule, execute the action, update the fields. That is on save. On save of that particular portlet. Okay. So we will be configuring this business rules from tomorrow. Okay, we'll see how to write a business rule for different scenarios. We'll not directly jump onto workflows. Workflows are a bit complicated. We'll see first simple business rules and then we'll move to workflows. Workflows will be discussing 2 or 3 sessions tomorrow, and then Monday, Tuesday we'll be discussing business rules. Okay, so we'll stop it here for today.
Also, are you going to, show custom workflows or anything like that?
No, this is a custom workflow.
Anything that is one of the scenario is like if a employee is let go, they have to process their his whatever they have to pay him, they have to generate the paycheck then and there. So that requires a
No,
custom.
see, that's not a workflow. That is an action that is required.
Okay.
Right. Workflows are something wherever you need the approvals or somebody needs to be notified.
Oh, that's
Now,
only the workflow.
yeah. Now, when
Okay.
employees, no, let's say employees applying or when employees initiating resignation,
Uh-huh.
I want 4 levels of workflow. First should go to manager. Manager, what will manager do? Manager try to retain the employee by offering, or manager will go check. Now, if employee doesn't want to stay back, employee wants to leave, manager will go and approve. It
Okay.
should go to IT team. IT team, what will IT team do? IT team will see if there are any assets issued to this employee. And IT team will say that you need to submit all of these assets. Only then we'll be able to approve. The next level, it should go to department head. Department head should see if there are any pending actions from this employee. We can have different levels of approvals, and only if that action is completed, they'll be approving or rejecting. Now, workflows are only to approve or reject. Now,
Oh,
taking an action, that is a different part.
okay. So, if you run a payroll, is that
Mm.
considered a workflow?
No, it is not a workflow.
Okay. Okay,
That's a
that's
different
fine.
process.
Okay. That's a process. It doesn't come under workflow, right?
It doesn't come under workflow. Workflow, either it will inform you, or it will ask for your action, whether to approve or reject.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you all. Catch up tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you.